Previously, we covered the axle and the housing from TubeWorks. Right now, we are designing all of the rear portion of the chassis where the fuel cell is going to be, everything behind the bump stops to the rear of the truck. That's going to be something that we cover separately. Right now, we wanted to address some of the stuff in the front, and one of the big milestones was finalizing the steering and the components for the steering. We briefly covered the front suspension on the truck. We're using a center pivot, trophy truck style front end, 26 inches of travel. The one main milestone here we wanted to accomplish is finalizing the steering and everything that bolts onto the chassis. From my experience, running a steering box or a steering gear over a rack is a no-brainer. The most optimal way to run a steering box on a center pivot setup is with Swingsteer. Swingsteer, just like it sounds, is swing steering. So you have two swingers, you have your steering box, you have a drag link going from your steering box to the swingers, and a center link. The center link is what's connected to your tie rods that go out to your wheels and tires. There's a ram assist that also helps with the steering box. Like most of the chassis, this is a one-off system that's developed for the vehicle. We are using 7075 machine swingers with chromoly billet chunks for a center link and a pitman arm. As much as it looks like a complicated system or a bunch of parts moving around, the package we have with a steering gear and a ram assist makes for a stronger, more reliable, serviceable system that you actually can feel driving the car. For years, I've been utilizing and installing power steering solution components to the front of vehicles. I've seen the passion through progression with Charlie and what he's building and the parts he's producing. Every one of the vehicles in our shop uses a PSS box. A big part of our mission here is to put the best parts we possibly can on a completely handcrafted, hand-built, designer-tailored vehicle. That being said, this is the opportunity to showcase top-tier products from the leaders in the industry. Charlie has been working on developing a complete billet steering gear with all custom internal parts, something bulletproof that's a direct swap for vehicles that are already utilizing a PSS steering gear.
I started Power Steering Solution in 2012, and when I started Power Steering Solution, the first thing I thought of, well, I'm gonna make a huge sacrifice for my family. Either I make it or I break. So there's no breaking, I gotta make it. So that's when it came to me putting my time and effort and my heart that Tommy has taught me, that I need to put that into the same business that I'm going to start now, because that's what I wanted to keep over there. So then I've always thought about making new product, making rack and pinions, you know, doing the servos, doing the pumps, doing the gearboxes, but I just didn't want to just buy something out of a junkyard car. I wanted to come up with something that's gonna, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel, but I always say I want to make the wheel better and stronger, and make sure that these race car drivers and co-riders are safe. I think we're going a lot faster in the desert now, so we got to make the parts stronger. I'm not in it to use stock parts. I'm here to make race car parts at this point. You know, like it goes back to these guys are racing, and they're racing hard, and they're driving as hard as they possibly can. I don't need a stock part to be my failure. But I want to build a part that's going to be way stronger, last a lot longer, and just make sure it gets through the desert. Has to get through the desert. In the beginning of off-road industry, everything was steering box. That's all we had. We didn't have a rack and pinion. Okay, so now, a lot of the builders wanted to figure out how to make something easier to build. because it goes back to, it's pretty stressful, and there's a lot of moving parts in a steering box. So then, if I remember correctly, don't hold me to it, but I think Danny Fodrow came out with the first rack and pinion idea. And so Danny came out with the rack and pinion, and then so actually after the rack and pinion world, the steering box kind of fell behind the closed doors, you know, and then now everybody's building trucks with rack and pinions. Why not? It's way easier. We could get these trucks done, and the holes were a lot smaller, tires were a lot smaller, so they weren't getting the issues that they're getting now. The feedback, the hurting the hands, we're running 40-inch tires on almost every single truck now. So you have to figure now, I got this weight of this tire, I got all this load. The rack and pinion takes up it gets pounded. The rack and pinion gets pounded now compared to back in the day where we were running 35s. Holes were a lot smaller. These all-wheel drive trucks now are just putting holes in this desert that are just humongous, you know. I remember just raced my last Baja 1000. I'm going through San Felipe at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe we're going down this stuff. Like, how does this happen? So these holes are just getting bigger. And the biggest thing with the steering box, it gives confidence in the driver's hands to know I could just plow through this hole now. I had a customer who, I think it was actually the Baja 1000, and he broke the front of the cast box off. So now it goes back to, I need to start figuring out how to make this part stronger. That's what got me started to thinking about the steering gear at that point. I wasn't already full throttle, let's just go and build it. I started thinking, okay, what can I do now to start making this stronger? Then we have sector shafts twist and break and pistons break and wear out. And so I'm like, I got to figure out something here. Mason and a lot of these builders, they build high-end race cars. I don't need to put a part on a race truck that's already 40 years old when it gets to me, and then I got to get it to them. That's when I started thinking, okay, it's time to make a race car steering gear now. I already did it with the pump, I already did it with the rack and pinion. Now it's getting steering gear. A lot of these vehicles now, 90% of them, race cars, race trucks, are being built with steering boxes. Luxury pre-runners are getting built with steering boxes. The steering box world is starting to overtake the rack and pinion world. And I think the steering box world is going to just take over the rack and pinion world. I'm hoping, at least, I hope, you know, this is getting tested in a couple weeks, and I hope that everything works awesome. Right off the bat, I wanted to change the integrity of the steering box. I wanted to make it a lot stronger. I wanted to make sure that front of that housing is not going to break off like it did at that Baja 1000. I wanted to make sure we have a stronger sector shaft. I want to make sure we have a stronger piston. So the only way I was going to be able to do that we were going to make the parts. We're going to be all in. If you're not all in, why even do it? So we either got to do it right or don't do it at all. Yeah, there might be some things, some hiccups here and there, but hiccups are easy to get rid of. So it's time to just get this thing rolling and get these race trucks, these luxury pre-runners, the swing set steering guy. Like when people saw that, when I first posted that, I got so much response out of that. Finally, that was the biggest thing. When they said finally, I was like, man, I've been thinking about this for 18 years, and I finally got a finally response. I don't understand why it wasn't done a long time ago. I mean, if we're at an age now, a new age, that we need to start building race car stuff. So this steering gear we made out of 7075. So the housing is going to be stronger than the cast box. We changed up all the internal holes and all that, so it flows way more than what the cast box can do. We also added the RAM ports on the side and also added the RAM ports at the bottom so a customer can use whatever the customer needs at that point, because some customers have different applications. And there's no more welding on a cast housing. This is all AN ported fittings, O-ringed. We make the piston, we make the sector shaft. Yeah, every single part besides the valve that's in that box is made, every single part. Next thing we're gonna tackle is the servo. We're gonna make a billet housing. We're gonna make it high flow. The biggest thing we got going on right now is flow issues in this system. If we could bring the flow issues, if we could get rid of the flow issue situation, these guys, we're gonna get rid of heat, we're gonna get rid of steering wheel feeling, not necessarily feeling as in road feeling, but as of catching the steering wheel. And yeah, we're gonna keep on evolving. We're gonna keep on going higher and higher and higher. So that's all there is just to go up. Never look down.
Charlie is humble, hardworking, and honest, and it shows in his parts, which are now shipping worldwide. We are beyond proud to have his components as part of the project.